Welcome to the COREnology podcast. I am delighted today to have Kim with the TFO Family Office with us. She is one of our awesome users, and I am excited to have insight from her on how she's using COREnology, some of her history, and insight into the industry. Thanks for being here, Kim.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so we met a couple years ago. You started using COREnology a year or so ago. And what I would love to start today's conversation with is tell me some of your history. You've been in the industry for a really long time. How'd you get in the industry?
So, I always like to say my career actually found me. So, this is an interesting question because recently, when I was at the PPI Rendezvous conference, I was at a dinner, and the question was something like three aha moments that changed the course of your life. And so I had to think about it a little bit, and I thought, okay, well, one is I went to school and got an economics degree, and no one ever asked me, what are you going to do with that? So I was like, not sure. And I was very lucky to get a position with Arthur Anderson, which at the time was a big six firm, and now I'm dating myself. But at Anderson, I was doing tax compliance services and then moved into the private client services service line. And that's where I got a lot of my skills in working with high net worth clients. I learned about estate planning, financial planning, and I also still had my tax background. So I really had a career that was more of a traditional advisor in this space. But then, of course, everyone knows what the next aha moment was, which is Enron. And apparently, no one can survive an indictment. So unfortunately, it took down Arthur Anderson, and I was very fortunate that the partner that I worked for at the time, he created his own firm. And so that was a very cool experience because not being under the umbrella of an audit firm, we had a lot of flexibility. And that is my next aha moment, which is, he wanted me to do something different with clients. He was very, I would say, very vanguard in the industry, and that he was very forward thinking of where this was going to go. Now, this is back in 2001, somewhere around that. So very
Yeah.
early. And he said, well, we have this big family. I want you to write a family constitution. And that was the very first time I've ever even heard of family governance and family constitution and what it meant. And so I think what happened was the aha moment was, hey, you're not very good at the tax code. So let's see if you're good at this.
Oh, dang it.
So over time, I mean, they didn't actually really say it, but I think they were very kind in saying, hey, we really like to have you around. We think you'd be great at this. And so I ended up really focusing a lot of my time on the qualitative side of wealth management. And so I transitioned into doing more consulting on the governance, philanthropy, and education.
That's so awesome. And how has it affected how you interact with each client within that?
So when you come from a technical space, you're looking at numbers and you're trying to figure out what the client wants to achieve. And again, I think we were very ahead of our time in that we knew it wasn't just about the numbers. And so we really started asking the questions about, hey, what is your overall goal and overall purpose? What is it that you want to achieve? And then let's build plans around that. And so it was really nice to come from both sides in my perspective and the work I do is because I had the technical background to understand the issues and to be able to work with the numbers, but also work within the framework of legacy and family dynamics and all of those types of issues as well.
So that's kind of a gift that you were already doing the technical side. You brought in that connective side. When you're looking at the industry as a whole, how do you feel like advisors are missing the mark in this, just in the general industry?
Yes. Well, I am encouraged because I feel like there's more and more information out there about the way to work with clients in a more useful way. And so I think if you get stuck in the technical, now I've also met a lot of individuals who have advisors who just focus on the technical side, and the message they give to me is like, but I just feel like they're missing it. They're missing what it is that I'm trying to do and what's meaningful to me because they're so focused on returns and cash flow that they're not really having the meaningful conversations around what makes you happy, what fills you up, what depletes you, what is it
Right.
that you want to accomplish in the long run.
Right. Well, and that connects me to before we started, we were talking a little bit about AI. And I was recently told that AI can do every piece of the planning right now. And so, what are we going to do? How does this work? How do we keep an industry running when AI can do all of it?
Well, I think humans by nature, we are relational. And
Mm,
so you
great.
can't have a true relationship with AI. They're not gonna really understand your emotions. They're not gonna understand what it is that motivates you and the feelings that all come behind that. And so I feel like no matter what, we need that emotional connection. I mean, our whole firm, and I would say like the industry, is built on the relationship and the trust that we build with our clients. And
Yeah.
so I don't know any of my clients who's going to be satisfied with just being able to talk to something that's artificial. I mean, people get frustrated with calling 1-800 numbers and with people that can't understand them, right? How are they going to talk to like a robotic intelligence system? It doesn't make any sense. I'm not concerned at all. I've had arguments with individuals about this as well, but like I said, I think deep inside humans are relational and we need that connection.
Right. We often say that ChatGPT is not going to ask me what's keeping me up at night,
Exactly.
right? ChatGPT is just not going to care.
Mhm.
So, well,
Yeah.
and that brings us to COREnology. And I mean, you're talking about knowing their values and what motivates them. And now you're using our product, COREnology. And how is that working for you? When you, and there, it's been a process to implement. And so, how you're typically using it, if I understand, in family meetings. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. So we focus a lot on family values and mission. And so I wanted a tool that was easy enough to use for clients, that didn't take a whole lot of time and wasn't burdensome, that would allow us to get to an answer, not only provide them with their own individual values, but be able to do the algorithms in the background to provide the family shared values, because that's really the core of what I'm trying to get to with families. So being able to utilize COREnology in that way has really been effective in the work. And I also really love the additional reports about like core styles and, how individuals prefer to be communicated to. That's really been helpful and insightful. And so when I reveal all these things and talk through the report with my clients, they always have their own aha moments of, yes, I totally appreciate it when I have time to think things through. I am not a quick decision maker. I need to culminate on that. And then the other family's going, ah, yes, you are that person. And then they get a better understanding. And so in that capacity, it's been really helpful to be able to share that type of knowledge with them.
Awesome. And do you have any specific situations that you've just had a really nice aha moment with a family?
Well, I can tell you one thing that we've done that's been really cool that I've incorporated is I have their individual values posted up on the walls. And then before we do the big reveal, we have family members go around looking at each other's values, but not knowing whose they are. I have them try to guess and match the person to their
Really
values.
goes with what value.
Yes.
That's so fun. What a great exercise. How does that go?
So it works out really well because it prompts conversation. Because sometimes it's like, "Oh, totally knew that was you," or it could be something like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that that was a value of yours." So then we take it a
Mhm.
deep further and we have them take one of their values and talk about how it resonates with them and why that value is meaningful. And so then the whole family is hearing about their own personal value. And this is before we get into the shared values work, because then it creates that connection and they learn things about each other that they may not have known. And so that's been truly like, and it's fun for the clients because they're getting out of their seats and they're looking around and, it's
Right.
something that keeps them very active.
And I don't know if you have the opportunity to hear follow-up conversations, but we're finding often there's a snowball effect after those conversations. Like the family walks away and they're like, "Oh, now I see you're doing this," or "Oh, now I
Mhm.
get this." Snowballs into deeper communication as the family connects more deeply.
Yes.
Do you have any of those stories? Do you get to hear any of that yourself?
Well, so what I purposely do and what I've built into my agendas now, because I want them to be reminded of their values. I didn't want to just do the work and then all of a sudden like it gets put into a drawer somewhere. So we make sure we go over the values and mission statement and before every meeting. And then we also take a moment, just about 15 minutes in the meeting at the start to go, "Hey, let's celebrate our values. Can each of you think of a time, either you individually or you saw a family member demonstrate one of your family values?" And then that will prompt conversation.
And that's so fun because you get to see them connect
Mhm.
every single time.
Yes. And I get to hear the family stories. Like, what have you done for the past quarter? I haven't seen you.
I love that. That's awesome. What have you learned about yourself since you've been using Chronology? Has it given you a chance to learn anything new about you?
Well, I think what I mean, clearly, a core style thing is something that I've learned about myself as to how I like to communicate and be communicated to. And so that's been eye opening for me. But I also, I love the way it's helped me put structure around the conversation and being able to be more confident in having and going through this process.
Yeah, so much because you've done this for a long time and you still like having additional structure and help in
Yes.
the conversation.
Absolutely. So that's what's really been helpful because I could do, and I did before I had your tool. It was like, okay, here's a list of 100 words for you to look through, and let's try to figure out what your values are. And it just was a cumbersome process that even I wouldn't even enjoy. So for me, having something that made it really concise and very succinct, and to then have a beautiful report printed out that I could utilize in my conversations, changed the way I do things. And it's become a lot more efficient.
I think it's encouraging too that even though you've done this for a long time, it's beneficial to have assistance and help through a tool. And so, somebody that's just starting to have these conversations or thinking about changing the way they interact with their families, it it gives them a tool to start with.
Yes, absolutely.
So, at any level, it's helpful to have. I mean, don't we all need help?
Agree. For sure.
So, I'm just curious, and you may not have this in front of you. What's your core value?
So I would say, I mean, I have a few, but the one that always sticks out in my mind that I felt is more of what do they call it when it's a core value that's so innate and that you've grown up with,
Innate.
is empathy. So
You've just always been empathetic.
yeah, so I can tell you sort of when I was really small, And I kind of remember this actually, even though I was probably 3 years old. My aunt and uncle, they were always jokesters. And so I'd be alone in the room and I'd just be playing with a toy or something like that. And then they would kind of peek into the door and they would sing this really sad Korean song. And I don't know if at 2 or 3 I understood what it meant, but I just felt it. And so then I'd be, like, crying, and then my mom and my grandmother would, like, yell at them for making me cry. But this was this ongoing thing that would happen, is I'd be sitting there and they would do this to me constantly. And so I think that is something
You a
yes,
little
empathy's been something within me since I was a baby.
Well, and I love that because some core values, they're just innate. They're part of who you always were
Mhm.
versus coming from a life experience and or those aspirational goal values.
Yes.
Do you spend time talking about that with your clients, or is that not something you discuss?
I do, because I try to give them an example of living out your values and how I don't want the values that come up for them. I don't want it to be aspirational, like you said. I said, I want them to be something that you're living in your life from day to day because it is your values are what drives your decision making, even if you don't realize it. So all we're doing is trying to figure out what those values are and bringing them to light and just being able to articulate what they mean to the family. And so I will always kind of give some sort of personal example of those types of situations in which this is how I'm living my values.
That's awesome. If you were talking to someone that is just looking at using chronology, what advice would you give them?
First, I would tell them that try it on your colleagues, try it on family members, because that's what I did. I had people volunteer. And then through them, I kind of was able to develop what my process was going to be. And it was just really helpful to get to know the software and how it worked and the type of conversations I wanted to have. And also, I would suggest lean on you guys because anytime I had any questions or had any issues, I would email you guys and right away, either I got a phone call or I get a response and my issue or my questions would be answered.
It's great to hear. I'm glad that the team is taking great care of you. And 100%, we always want to help anyone with questions or concerns or just walking through doing this with clients.
Yes, it's
So
been a very collaborative process, I would say.
that's awesome. Well, and as we wrap up today, thank you so much for being here. Tell me what excites you about the future of doing all this work and where do you kind of see our industry going? I mean, we mentioned AI. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, first of all, I can tell you from a personal experience, in the past year, I've seen a surge of clients come in that are looking for for a solution for their families long term. They're interested in learning more about what is this family governance and how can it help my family? And they are interested in doing shared values and shared mission type of work. They want to look for ways that they can the success of their family in the future and help them to thrive, however they define that. Right. And the goal's always been we want this wealth to last through multiple generations and they're wanting to make sure that that can happen. And so I feel like that's growing and professionals like myself are going to get busier with this type of work. So I hope people are seeing looking for more resources and tools like yours to be able to help us in the industry. I think that it'll be as we see more and more families come to light, I'm hoping that there'll be opportunity for more research and data in this space.
That would be awesome. Yep. And hopefully some of these tools give us that data,
Yes, for sure.
right?
Mhm.
Well, I really appreciate all your time. Thank you so much for giving us a little insight into the way you use chronology and how it's affected you. And I can't wait to see how it works over the next year or two with you and your team.
Thank you so much,
So
Gretchen. This has been fun.
it's delightful to have you. So we'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you.
watching the podcast, if